What breath is to the body, prayer is to the soul. The Bible overflows with promises. Page after page, God revealed as the one who hears and answers. Prayer isn't a ritual. It's not an obligation. It's our lifeline. Without contact with heaven, our spiritual life fades. But with it, we breathe again. We rise again. This is our native air. This is our vital breath.
Is this thing on? Oh, it is. Okay. All right. So Amy just left. So I am under strict orders to say to any parent that's here. So in July, which is next week, isn't it? Okay. All right. I think Manny mentioned this last week, didn't he? Kids coming in here? No one was listening. Okay. All right. So for the month of July, the kids are going to be in the service with us. And not because like everybody needs a break. It's actually an exercise to help kids to understand what's going on in here and to start that process in their lives to be a part of the church. Like we want our kids to grow up in the nurture and admonition of the Lord and become saved members of the church, right? And so, and because of the principle of more is caught than taught, ever heard that before? We want the kids to be in here. So I want to, if you're a parent, it's going to be great. If you're not a parent of these particular kids, let's encourage, right? Because we've all been through it, and you know, like we want to be a family and a community that bears these burdens together. Not that it's a burden, but okay? All right. So I did it. So if Amy, you're watching, you're welcome. Okay. So second, so I don't know if anybody's going to be paying attention to me this morning because, yeah, we're having lunch, and as soon as I'm done talking, and then we're having the dessert auction, I'm a little biased. I'm going to give you some inside baseball here. My daughters are like amazing bakers. I'm not kidding. And I'm really torn because it's probably inappropriate for me to bid on my family's desserts. I don't know. But I would. What? I can? Okay. I have a feeling, and everybody's going to know what I'm talking about shortly. Like, this is a little tease. So Mac is really going to like one of these desserts. Just be oh, you'll know. I promise. It will. Yeah. Right, Lucy? Where's Lucy? Right? Yeah. Okay. All right. So that's coming up, and so we're excited about that. All right. You probably all think that I've got it all together, and I'm pretty amazing. Thanks, Kai. I don't understand the laughter. So I'm gonna go ahead and debunk the rumor that I've got it all together. All right. I'm covered in paint. Apparently, I don't know how to bathe because I was painting my garage yesterday, and I still have white paint all over me. So I don't think I'm dirty, but you might think I am. So I just want to put it out there, and the garage looks good, I think. But anyway, so there's that. The other rumor is that I'm like totally fearless, and this is not true. So I'm letting the world know I hate flying. I have probably taken, I don't know, it's in the hundreds of flights in my life. I hate it every time. What's wrong with me? I don't know. My kids are like, what's wrong with you? I have an issue, okay? And some would say, like, I don't know, like, I don't trust the pilot, probably true. I don't trust the aircraft, probably true. I don't know. There's something about this relationship between faith and doubt, which, fun fact, is our sermon this morning. That's a little fun, like, seminary talk like illustration to get everybody hyped up. So I hope you're hyped up to talk about faith and doubt this morning. All right. So all right. So a few weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, we talked about the kind of the black and white nature of our preference for God versus our preference for sin. If you remember, if you were here, if you were awake, we talked about that. So, as a recap, because I think it's really important, that in our human nature, we have this preference for sin, right? Like we want to sin. It's what we want to do. The way that we overcome that is by engaging with the Lord more and more. The closer I stand to the Lord, the more he overflows and my preference becomes him. If I'm way over here, that sin preference is strong, right? And so I want to walk closely with the Lord so that my preference is him. And we call that preference one of these important church words, which is faith, right? So I talked about, my faith in the pilot, right? But the problem is the world, as with many words, has stolen the word faith. Faith means something. Faith is a God word. It's a word that helps us to understand what this whole journey is about. I'm not a Greek scholar. I will tell you, I took Greek in seminary, and little tip, sometimes like we're like, oh, I went to seminary and I learned Greek and I took Hebrew. Not important. There's this amazing thing, it's called the internet. You can look up any word on the internet. We talk a lot of bad stuff about the internet. There's actually some good stuff about the internet. One of them, you don't need to take Greek. Okay, so the Greek word for faith is pistis. And pistis emphasizes it's something that God does. It's not something I can do as a human. That is so incredibly important for us to understand as believers is God gives faith. I produce doubt. Think about it. God gives faith. I produce doubt. And why is that important? Because faith comes from him. It's not my job to produce it. Faith does not mean if I really, really, really want it, it'll happen. Sometimes we're told as Christians that, if you just believe hard enough, God's going to do it. Unfortunately, that is contrary to the Bible. That's human speak. I can't make myself have more faith. You know who can? God himself. Here's another lie that we tell ourselves as people. We love gray areas, don't we? We love the idea that, especially in church, I can be a Christian and I can also be a part of the world. Or I don't have to engage with other people. I don't have to engage with the church. I don't have to do this, that, or the other. Unfortunately, God is black and white. Think about it. Children of darkness, children of light. There's no like children of dim bulb, right? It's one or the other. It's saved, it's not saved. There's no such thing as a little bit saved. There's no such thing as a little bit lost. We like those gray areas because we have commitment issues, don't we? We feel like, well, if I fully engage with God, he might ask me to do things that I don't really want to do. And that is a danger and what we need to engage with this morning. And so our passage is Matthew 21. So I did it again. I don't know the page number. This is like the running joke if you're visiting. So we have the Pew Bibles. Manny always says the page number, 875. Mac just helped me out, 875. Gray helped me out last time, and I acknowledged him as a great son, and Carly did it? Oh, good job, 875. So Matthew 21, page 875. So we're going to start in verse 18. So 18 to 22. Early in the morning, as he was returning to the city, he was hungry. Seeing a lone fig tree by the road, he went up to it and found nothing on it except leaves. And he said to it, "May no fruit ever come from you again." At once the fig tree withered. When the disciples saw it, they were amazed and said, "How did the fig tree wither so quickly?" Jesus answered them, "Truly I tell you, if you have faith and do not doubt, you will not only do what was done to the fig tree, but even if you tell this mountain, 'Be lifted up and thrown into the sea,' it will be done. And if you believe, you will receive whatever you ask for in prayer." Do you hear it? If you have faith and do not doubt. What we need to understand this morning is that it's not talking about a gray area. It's not telling you if you have enough faith that you have produced in yourself, you can overcome your doubts. It doesn't work that way. And praise to God, it doesn't work that way. Because if you're like me, you know you can't do it. Only God can produce that faith. How do we know? So I don't know how much you engage with, with like this part of the Bible. It's the Old Testament. Okay. So what's the purpose of the Old Testament? One of the most important purposes of the Old Testament that we need to wrap our brains around is that we can't do it without his intervention. The Hebrews, later the Jews, tried really hard to earn their salvation. They tried really hard to please God. You know, the Jews get kind of a bad rap, right? Like, man, what a bunch of dummies. I can't believe they would do that. Blah, blah, blah. We would do it too. The purpose is to tell us you can't do it without him. And what's the him we're talking about? The Spirit of God. New Testament Christianity equals Holy Spirit in all of us. The enablement of faith is produced by the Spirit of God inside of me. I don't ask God to do this, that, or the other. I don't say, God, I believe in you really good, so I need that car. There's something called the prosperity gospel that tells you that if you do that, if you just believe, you will achieve. Like, oh, if I can hype myself up enough, if I can do this, that, or the other, that God is going to take care of it. And he's going to take care of it in the way that I see fit. You know, the way I see fit isn't necessarily the right fit, right? And so I rely on him to guide me in the faith that he produces. John 14, 16 and 17. And I will ask the Father, and he will give you another counselor to be with you forever. He is the Spirit of truth. The world is unable to receive him because it doesn't see him or know him, but you do know him because he remains with you and will be in you. He is the Spirit of truth. He is the giver of faith. When I open the door of my life to Jesus, the Spirit of God comes in me and grants me faith. And that faith is what Jesus was talking about when he said in Matthew 21 that even if you tell this mountain, be lifted up and thrown into the sea, it will be done. Have you ever seen a mountain thrown into the sea? Have you ever seen a human be like, let me throw that into the sea? Why not? I thought, if I have enough faith, I can be healed, I can do this, I can do that. It's because faith is God's thing, and God decides if a mountain needs to be thrown into the sea, not me. But when he enables faith in my life, the things that I see as mountains, he moves. Do you understand how important that is? Because I don't need to walk through life worried about, do I have enough faith? Am I close enough to God? Am I doing this? Am I doing that? Because he is the one producing it. It is this gift of faith that the Spirit gives us. The gift of faith is the most important gift of the fruit of the Spirit. Ephesians 2, 8 and 9. Paul emphasizes it, for it is by grace you have been saved through faith. And this is not of yourselves. It is the gift of God, not by works, so that no one may boast. We emphasize salvation as the gift of God, but faith is the gift of God. The faith is not of myself. The faith is given by God, not by works. I don't produce it. And why don't I produce faith? So that I can't boast about it. I can't say, Mac, I'm sorry your foot hurts. I'm going to heal it. Because I don't have that faith. God has the faith. And if God chooses to heal his foot, don't worry, everybody, Mac doesn't have a foot injury that I'm aware of. God will heal it. And our blessing is to see God do it and to recognize by the faith he gives us that he is acting and moving. So don't try to be a faith producer. We need to focus on not being doubters. And how do we do that? First, we need to understand that this idea that faith is from him. And what is faith? Hebrews 11:1 defines faith, the assurance of what we hope for and the certainty of what we do not see. We cannot be sure of the things of God without God putting them in us. I haven't seen heaven. I didn't see Jesus. I wasn't there. God activates that. You know, this book, I believe it because he's put it in me to believe it. You can read this book, and it's just a book. Until God's Spirit activates in your life and it becomes living. He does that. I don't just read it a whole bunch and then, like, after the 10th reading, I'm like, yes, God. It doesn't work that way. He produces faith. So the opposite of that faith is that doubt, that which I produce in myself. You know what doubt is? Again, the world has stolen the word doubt. Doubt is not like, I don't know. I'm not sure. The Greek word for doubt is diakrino. Diakrino is an active choice of rebellion. Doubt is me saying no to God. You know, one of the great arguments that people give to believing in God is, well, why would a good God send people to hell? God doesn't send people to hell. We send ourselves to hell. How do I know that? This word, doubt. The active rebellion against faith. So when we read in Matthew 21:21, truly I tell you, if you have faith and do not doubt, you will not only do what was done to the fig tree, but even to the mountain. Do you hear it? He's not saying, hey believers, hey Holy Spirit-filled people, don't doubt. If you have faith, if you have the Spirit of God in you, God will move mountains. If you're on the other side and you are filled with doubt, if you are a doubter, what the Bible calls a child of darkness, God's not moving mountains. Your mountains will not move. Because there's two kinds of people in the world. We want there to be a third. It doesn't work that way. There are faith holders and doubt holders. So my feelings towards the airplane and the pilot, that's not really doubt. That's like concern, crazy stuff going on in my head. That's not doubt. That's not biblical doubt. You see how the world has stolen all these words? Wow, we need to steal them back. I don't even know what to call that. We'll steal words. I don't know. So, how do we remove the doubt? Right? Because remember, the doubt is my sin nature produced in me to push against God, right? The people, those, God, right? And but there's an element of truth for all of us, okay? I've described this before, but if you never heard me describe this, I'm going to do it now. God doesn't move. God is described as a rock. When I am outside the faith, let's imagine I'm like off the stage here, okay? I am outside God's family. I'm a child of darkness. I am a sinner. Whatever phrase you want to use, there's lots in the Bible, okay? I'm outside. When I open the door of my heart to Jesus, I come into God's family. So I'm on the stage. I've made it to the stage. Okay? God's right there. God doesn't move. I am looking over here. I'm seeing the good time. I'm seeing the good time on the stage or off the stage. And as I look over here, I see the value of doubt. That those out there are like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, Charles Darwin was a really compelling guy. C student. But anyway, okay, so I'm looking over here. The faith that the Spirit gives can move me towards where God is. Because I'm always doing this dance in my life. That was my jazz square, by the way. Okay, so I'm in this constant movement. I'm looking over here. God's over here. And I'm looking over here and I'm saying, God, you're far from me. I'm the one far from him, right? And that, again, that's this word doubt, right? Looking over here. I get closer here in what we've talked about so much, especially recently, relationship. My relationship is that word faith. It's trust. It's me approaching him and spending time with him. Because remember, all he wants from me is to walk closely with him and to be with him. It's like there's lots of these kind of experiments, but probably the easiest is oil and water, right? Oil and water don't mix. Oil's heavier than water. I'm not a scientist. Okay. So if you have like a glass of water, I should have done this. I could have been like Mr. Wizard. Anybody? Not Bill Nye. Mr. Wizard was it. Okay. So let's imagine I've got like a jar of water. Okay? And if I start pouring oil into the jar of water, what's going to happen? The water is going to go out, right? It's going to fill up with the oil. That's right? Scientists? Am I close enough? Close? All right. Imagine something that works like that with two chemicals. I don't know. All right. I have all liberal arts degrees. I'm sorry. Okay. So our faith is like that. The more that God fills me up with faith, the oil in this example, okay, the bad stuff pushes out. And the more I have faith in me that he produces, right? My role is to get closer to him. He puts the faith in me the closer I get to him and pushes all that other stuff out. So that is the relationship between faith and doubt. Listen to this, James 1, 5 through 8. If any of you lacks wisdom, he should ask God, who gives to all generously and ungrudgingly, and it will be given to him. But let him ask in faith without doubting, for the doubter is like the surging sea, driven and tossed by the wind. That person should not expect to receive anything from the Lord, being double-minded and unstable in all his ways. Again, please don't misread these verses. The person should not expect to receive anything from the Lord is the person that doesn't know him. It's not, I'm a Christian and God doesn't do anything for me. That's not what this is. The message for us as believers today is if we lack wisdom, what is wisdom? Wisdom is the beginning of all knowledge. It comes from God. How do we get it? How do we gain knowledge of God? How do we gain wisdom? We ask Him. We don't read extra. We don't come to church more frequently, though you should. We don't give more, though you should. We ask Him, and He gives what? To all generously. All. There aren't like preferred Christians and non-preferred Christians, right? Like there's not like first class and business class and what's the economy plus. I don't know. The church is like Southwest. Oh, but they changed, didn't they? Oh gosh. This example would have worked a month ago. I don't have one for you now. We're all in the economy class, okay? Because He wants to give to all of us. And so the more we relate to Him, and how do we relate to Him? Two things. We speak to Him through prayer. He speaks to us through His Word. When we are doing those two things, when we are spending time with Him, just like any other relationship, and we've walked through relationships, we grow closer to Him. He fills us with faith. And the doubt pushes out. So Jesus wasn't teaching the disciples, okay, when I'm gone, nobody's going to believe you unless you pick up some mountains. If that was the case, probably some mountains would have gotten shuffled around in Israel, right? No, that's not what He was saying. He was teaching them the way to overcome the obstacles of life, the way to overcome the obstacles that they were going to face, the death that all but one were going to suffer, needed extraordinary faith, which means they needed an extraordinary relationship with God Himself, with the Spirit of God. So if we want to know how to overcome in life, it's by being close to Him. It's not by being super Christian, not by moving up to first class. And so when we pray, when we are in His Word, we have to trust that He wants what's best because of that relationship. And when we trust that, when He gives us that trust, the bad stuff pushes out. I can't underemphasize that point enough. When we go through the trials of life, we don't need to buck up and look stronger or post our problems on the internet or go have counseling. Counseling's good, by the way. But we get close to Him. And then we start to see the world like He intends it. We start to see the same mountains that He does. We start to see people the way that He sees people. And we start to see ourselves like He sees us. Because all He wants from us is relationship. And when I'm in that tight relationship with Him, He provides. And so just like we talked about a couple weeks ago. Spending time with him pushes away the desire for sin because I'm getting closer and closer to him. It shows that we prefer him. And that preference we call faith. And as part of that, in the Christian life, we show that preference in a few ways, right? The first step of that preference choosing, preferring, is when we say, God, I can't do it. I can't save myself. I'm a sinner. Only you can save me. God, come into my life, forgive me of my sins, cleanse me, and make me your child. That's how we come to faith. It's that preference. His Spirit fills me with faith. And then second, along the journey, we get baptized. We call this an ordinance church, an ordinal moment. We don't do it because it's something mystical. We're not receiving a second Holy Spirit. We received the Spirit of God the moment we open the door of our heart to him. So Jesus said, behold, I stand at the door and knock. Whoever opens the door of their heart to me, I will come in and sup with him and he with me. So I get baptized. Why do I do it? As a reminder that I am a child of faith. I am no longer a slave of doubt. And so we get baptized to say, 30 years down the road, at that moment, I trusted in him. Because why else would we do it? It's kind of weird if you think about it. Like, hey, drown me for 3 to 5 seconds. Like, that's kind of an odd thing, right? But we do it as an act of faith and obedience, as that reminder of faith and trust. And then we have this second ordinance that we do. Because the baptism happens how many times? Nice participation. 1. Okay. All right. There is one faith and one baptism, right? We get baptized one time as that stone of remembrance in our lives to say, I identified with Jesus. Through all the storms of my life, I remember that moment. Because remember, just because I have trials and I'm having difficulty later in life, I don't become a gray area Christian. I'm either in or out. No half Christians here, okay? So the third thing we do, this ordinance, is the Lord's Supper. Why? Because we need reminders. That's why we come here. We need to be reminded. We can't live well without him. And him is his church, because Jesus is the head of the church. And we are many members. We don't come here because the Rotary Club was full. They might be, I have no idea. But we come here because this is the family of God. This is his thing. And so we come here to remind each other of the faith and trust that he provides. To say, when we see our friend, our neighbor, our pewmate, that's a new word, maybe, and we know they're struggling with something, we want to encourage them in faith, in trust, because the difficulties of life always have us looking off stage. And we need each other to say, look to the rock. Turn your eyes. It's like the song, Turn Your Eyes Upon Jesus, right? And we do the Lord's Supper because God knows everything, and he knew this was a great way to focus our attention, to focus on him, to encourage faith and remove the doubt that we look to.